Hey there, my wedding planning friends, and welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time here, thanks so much for clicking on my video. I'm Emily Summer. I'm a wedding planner based in Montana, and I make weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice. Today's video is a bit of a shameless plug, as I am a wedding coordinator myself, obviously, but I hear a lot of people on the fence about hiring a wedding coordinator, whether they should, what to know, what to think about if you're on the fence about hiring a wedding coordinator. So hopefully this video will help answer some questions for you and make that decision a little bit easier. So if you're somebody that's on the fence of hiring a wedding coordinator, and this can be just a day of coordinator, we're not talking full wedding planning services, so just somebody that's there, kind of steps in at the end of the planning process, finalizes some details for you, and is there on the day of your wedding to make sure everything runs smoothly, takes care of all of those little details and all that fun stuff. So if you're on the fence about hiring a coordinator, wondering if it's worth it, if you want to add it into your budget, how to know if you should have a coordinator or if you can do it yourself, here are a list of questions to consider and ask yourself, and some tasks that a lot of people don't realize are things that they would have to do until it comes to their wedding day. So, number one, who's going to schedule your vendor arrival times and coordinate that day of setup plan? When you think about it, you're going to be getting ready on the day of your wedding, and you're likely going to be taking photos, you're going to be enjoying time with your bridesmaids and doing whatever it is you're going to be doing on your wedding morning, and you're not going to be able to be present at the venue to coordinate those vendor arrival times, to make sure your vendors are showing up on time, to make sure they know where they're setting up, make sure they have everything they need, and make sure they're arriving, period. Unfortunately, I have heard of weddings where certain vendors just straight up didn't even show up, or they had it down on their books for the wrong day. I had a wedding a few years ago where the florist had the wedding date for the following weekend, not for that weekend, and we had to totally scramble and get replacement flowers. And had it not been for the fact that there was a wedding coordinator there, that likely would have gone unnoticed until the last minute, and they wouldn't have had any flowers at the wedding. On the topic of arrival times and setup, who's going to set up for your wedding? A lot of venues might offer a setup service with their venue as far as like setting up tables and chairs, but who's going to set the tables? Who's going to put out little final details like your escort cards, put up signage around the venue? Those are things that a wedding coordinator will do when they arrive on site to make sure that everything is set to go in your ceremony and reception space. Speaking of vendors, who's going to communicate with your vendors on the day of? Is that something that you want to do or are willing to do when you're on your wedding day and you're going off chatting with your guests, or you're taking your photos, or you're doing whatever it is that you're doing, and vendors need to touch base with you on timeline things? If a caterer needs to ask you a question about food quantities or something at the bar, or whatever it might be, they're going to be coming to you as the person who is in charge on your wedding day, and then you're going to have all of these things to juggle while trying to just simply enjoy your wedding day or take your photos or be with your family and friends. Another thing to consider is who's going to pack away all of your gifts and items that you need to bring home with you at the end of the night. Is that something that you're going to do at the end of your wedding when you've been enjoying your evening and maybe you're leaving earlier than your other guests? Maybe you're leaving and going immediately on your honeymoon, or you guys have a special place that you're going to stay, just the two of you at the end of the wedding night, and you're leaving early. What about everything that's still left behind at the venue? Is that something that you have a plan in place to pack up? You have family and friends that are doing that? Or is that something that you would find beneficial to have a wedding coordinator do? Another thing a lot of couples don't really think about is the whole management and coordination of the actual day. So you've got all your vendors booked, everyone knows when to show up, everyone knows where to show up, but how about the actual timeline and progression of your wedding day? So who's going to make sure your ceremony starts on time? Who's going to get everybody in order for the processional, all of your bridal party, maybe grandparents, whoever's participating in the processional with you? Who's going to coordinate all of that and make sure that they're in the right order and getting down the aisle on time? Additionally, you will have to be in charge of keeping track of time and making sure that you're starting your toasts at a reasonable hour, that your first dance is happening, mother-son, father-daughter, all of those activities during the reception are happening on time so that things are flowing smoothly and there isn't this awkward downtime or you're rushing to get things done before your photographer leaves. And all of those coordinating details are things that a wedding coordinator will do for you and communicate with the vendors and make sure things are happening on time so that you don't have to keep your eye on the clock and make sure you know know what time it is and when things need to happen and coordinating them to happen. Another thing that's really handy to have a wedding coordinator there for is ushering and coordinating the buffet line if you're having a buffet line, and just making sure that dinner service as a whole is happening in a timely manner, communicating with the caterers, making sure everybody has what they need, whether it's buffet or plated, making sure the timeliness of that is efficient and that everything is on time, and coordinating when to start toasts based on how many people have received food, how many people are still eating, and how much time is left in the whole dinner service. Finally, things will go wrong on your wedding day. That's just kind of the fact of the matter, and 99.9% of the time, if you have a wedding coordinator, you will never even know that things went wrong. And that's kind of the purpose of having a wedding coordinator, because when those little things do go wrong, things don't go as planned, having a professional there to handle those situations so that A, you don't have to deal with it, you don't even have to know if you don't want to know that things are going wrong, but B, they have a professionalism that will allow them to handle the situation probably a lot calmer than you might on your wedding day, and also in a way that will be smooth, as they've probably dealt with that current situation multiple times before and know how to handle it. So if you're on the fence about hiring a wedding coordinator, wondering if you need a day of coordinator, what exactly they can provide for you, and if it's necessary, those are some good questions to ask yourself and things to consider on your wedding day about whether you feel comfortable performing those duties on your own, or if you would benefit from having somebody do that for you. Wedding coordinators are there to help you. They're there to allow you to just enjoy your day and not have to be worrying about all of those little details, coordinating and communicating and being the point of person, so that you can just simply enjoy your day, be there with your family and friends, and be in the moment without having to worry about all of the external factors that are happening around you. Hopefully you found this video helpful. If you did, please like and subscribe to get weekly videos on wedding planning tips and advice. And we'll see you next week.